Hi, everyone. I'm sitting here with Leslie Luzerne, who's visiting Hawaii again from Wisconsin. And she is come this time to work with the Ke'ili Foundation. But I just wanted to catch her because her views on special needs and autism are so unique and amazing. And the first question I wanted to ask you is, you were saying before that special needs people, we always talk about them as parents, we always talk about them as being different, but you have a different way of looking at special needs people.
Yeah, I actually don't believe that they are very different from us. I believe that they are an extension of what human nature is and what us as people are. And so, quote unquote, normal people with disabilities or special abilities, they're either just hypo human or hyper human, just which meaning that everything that they go through is just human nature. It's just exposed at a different level.
So what would you say if our guys have a meltdown, how would that be the same as, how would you compare that? So a meltdown, is that something only special needs have, or is that something normal people have and it's just a different way of looking at it?
Yeah, it's just a different way of looking at it. So I have meltdowns. I mean, have you ever gotten so frustrated that you slammed your computer because you were just done with reading something?
You mean this one that's half broken?
Yeah. Have you ever done that? Yes. Have you ever been into a grocery store and, there you see something that you don't like that's happening at the grocery store, or you just had enough of people that day and you're like, oh my gosh, I just need to get through this grocery store without one more person talking to me. And you're feeling that anxiousness and that anxiety. Well, that is what our kids are feeling at different points of their life too. And so the thing is that we're saying that that's okay for us to do, but their meltdown is not okay.
That's interesting. Yeah.
The thing is too, is with meltdowns, we just handle our meltdowns differently. And so we have
and we hide it too.
We do. We hide it. We know what our social norms are of what we can do, what we can't do. We understand the laws that we can't just go and throw a glass across the room. We understand that. But with processing on kids that are on the spectrum or adults that are on the spectrum, that doesn't always happen. They don't always have that processing to be able to say, okay, that's not appropriate. We all have meltdowns. We all have sensory things that we're going through. And people need to start looking at that kind of stuff as human nature, just that they don't understand the rules of society's norms.
That's so interesting you say that, because I noticed that when I have skills trainers and aides that work with my daughter, the one that's successful is the one that sees her as a human being and actually learns to like her.
Right.
But if there's someone just working for a paycheck, it just never works out. They quit or something happens. My daughter figures out that they don't really like her. And so the dynamic doesn't work. But when it's very rare, but when I find that person that loves to work in the field of adults with special needs and they truly are interested in my daughter or another client as a person, that's when the magic happens. That's when a beautiful relationship happens.
Well, and the thing that comes with that too, this is also just human nature. So if I meet a person and I feel like they don't necessarily like me, or they don't necessarily, they're just being nice to me because they're needing to be nice to me at that point, I don't give them as much interaction. I don't want to give them that much interaction. So it's just like our kids and our adults that are on the special needs spectrum, basically, they're not going to work for that either. It's human nature. Everything goes back to human nature. And a lot of times they get separated into, oh, they have special needs, they're not a person first. And so my thing is 100% your person first with special needs way down the line.
That's so interesting. And your center, that what I love hearing from you is when you were a young kiddo, you were 24 and you opened your own business and you had ABA people working for you.
Right.
So you were one of the frontline ABA companies,
right,
up there in Wisconsin. And then you started your nonprofit, Bridge the Gap.
Mhm.
And here you are, you're not an ABA,
No.
but you had ABA people working for you, and you kind of now use a different methodology, which is, what do you call it? Whatever works? Or-
Whatever works. And real life. I call it real life, because the thing is, yeah, when I was 24, I decided, I was kind of sick of working for everybody else. They had way too many rules for me. They had things that I didn't necessarily love about each program. So at one point I was working for 4 different programs in the state of Wisconsin at the same time. And I was taking all of the knowledge that I absolutely loved from every program and sticking it in my brain. And everything that I absolutely hated, I put in my brain too, so that I could decide what was best for our kids. So I opened my first business when I was 24. And it was an ABA company. It was one of the first center-based programs in the whole state of Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, they were doing in-home back then. It was just basically a lot of in-home ABA. And so it was great, and it was awesome. However, it became a job, and this should never be a job. And so that was a for-profit, and I have such a nonprofit mindset that I don't believe that people that have private insurance should get, those are the only people that should get support. I believe everybody should get support. So I opened my nonprofit, Bridge the Gap, 6 years ago, which is so crazy. So I sold out of my business, took the money from my sellout, opened my nonprofit business part of it. And it's doing great, but it has all of those skills. And so we are not ABA. We are a whole different eclectic approach. We use sensory, we use real life, we use whatever the family dynamics are. The other thing with Bridge the Gap is we don't just focus on our kiddos or our adults, we focus on the whole entire family as a unit. The school district, everybody comes together so that we are all making a difference. Because the thing is that if we're trying to do everything separately, we're all doing the same work or trying to do the same work, and we're just repeating it all day long. If we all work together and we all know what's going on, then everybody can work together and we can move that kid or that adult faster through life.
And what happens, at least in Hawaii, is when they leave school at age 22, I find that there's not very many places where people still have the faith that they can keep on learning. And so I know there's a few learning centers that have opened up now that want to be more holistic, and that's great. That's a wonderful new approach. But you told me once that you had a 40-year-old man that wasn't talking.
Yes.
And his parents or his family believed in you enough. They sent him to your center, and they actually didn't believe anything could change. Is that right?
Right. So he went through school. He was echolalic. So he talked very little. And I just believed that he could do it. And he came to us, he didn't know how to do math. He didn't know how to read. He never wanted a birthday party. He was just there, kind of. And so within a year of being at our center, he was asking for a birthday party with blue tablecloths and blue balloons.
So that was real requesting, real talking.
Real talking. And so now, I mean, that's not an issue. He's not echolalic anymore. He continues to grow every single day. The other day, I just took a video of him reading for the first time to send to his mom, because that was a huge thing that his mom wanted him to learn how to read in life. But the school districts and everybody that he had worked with in the past said he's too old. He'll never, ever learn how to do that stuff.
That's interesting.
And he's capable. The thing is I don't believe that anybody stops learning at an age. I believe it's just how they're taught. You have to think outside the box and to teach for how they learn.
When I first came to Hawaii, my daughter was already 14, and she had a lot of behaviors, and I put her in a private ABA center, and I think she did 8 hours of ABA a day for 15 months. And for her, it wasn't really the right answer. I know it is for a lot of younger people, and a lot of younger parents are hoping that's going to be the answer. But I found with with every individual, it's different.
Mhm.
And my daughter needed some more creative, different approaches.
Mhm.
And so ABA did some good, but for instance, I took her to music therapy once and she started head banging on the wall. So I don't think everything fits with every single person. And I met an older group of ladies that used to be the early interventionists.
Mhm.
But when the ABA group sort of became bigger, the early interventionist business, I guess, with OC and all of this kind of died away. And so now we seem to be like a single approach with younger people. And I find a lot of parents think, well, if they don't get ABA, then they've got nothing. But what else can we do for them? Because our budgets are always up in each state to be cut, you know, and as more as budgets change from administration to administration, we can get ready for cuts and changes, and what we had last year we might not have this year for services.
Right. And the thing is the ABA is definitely amazing for some kids, right? And so that's what I learned through opening my own ABA business. However, my ABA business was also very eclectic. And so we did sensory and we did, integration therapies, and we did everything to meet the child where they are. The difference, I think, with Bridge the Gap is that we take every single kid for who they are and what they can accomplish and who they want to be, and we add them being happy into it, because
I like that.
yeah, if they are happy, they're going to learn, right? So if you're in a chaotic situation or you're depressed or you're mad, you're not going to learn anything. You're going to flatline somewhere. You're just going to be who you are, right? But if you're happy and you are truly happy and you have truly found a purpose in life, and you found things that you like to do, you can learn through those tools. And then all of a sudden you have all this growth. And so we see at the center tons and tons of growth. And so, yes, it's not that ABA written down growth, but when you look back at the videos from the beginning of time when they first came in to the times that there are now, there's so much growth you can't even believe it. Sometimes fantastic. I forget that stuff too,
so you're covering little 3-year-olds all the way up to 50-year-olds.
Yeah. So when I first opened Bridge the Gap, we were only servicing kiddos up till 18, right? Because that's all I knew. I didn't know basically anything else. And what I found is my 18-year-olds became adults. And then I was like,
what do I do with them?
What do I do with them? And there isn't anything else like me in our state, and in a lot of states. And so I just decided, okay, I can't do this. I'm going to figure it out. And so we figured it out. And, our program services all the way from littles all the way through adulthood. And so
that's exciting.
Our plan too is that they never have to leave. And so oftentimes, as a community, we will say, okay, they're going to have ABA until they're 10 years old. Okay, well then what's the next step? That's a parent's struggle, and that's a parent's stressor, because if they're stressed out about what their kid is going to do next and they're trying to find all of this stuff, that's hard for a parent. And then it becomes hard for the kid. Right now, we just function through adulthood, function through their whole lifespan, so that the parents always have a support team and always have support.
But you're not talking about every day. You're talking about customized programs for people. Like you said, you had a teenage support group, which is great. And you go out and they learn some more about budgets and how to sit down together and eat at a restaurant and how to just interact. And so that's just what, one time a week?
Yeah. Or? So a lot of we have lots of different programs at the center. And so we have an adult day service program that meets 4 days a week. Okay. And they're there for 5 or 6 hours. And that meets 4 days a week. Then we have other programs that only meet once or twice a week, but we're still seeing huge gains in a 2-hour once a week. We're seeing these huge gains. And so when you talk about ABA, that's really something that should be structured in very time oriented. Right. This is not. This is definitely learning to coach them through life in a very real environment. Okay. And getting them to be proud of themselves and proud of the accomplishments.
That's really exciting. And The last question I want to ask you is, you seem to have like your own method that you've developed over the years. Are you going to build, I always tell people, well, speech therapy got invented and psychology got invented and ABA got invented. Some people got together and they built the boundaries and they built a certification program. Have you ever thought about anything like that?
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of doing all of that right now so that it can be credentialed and to be used and utilized by other, the philosophies and the methods can be utilized. And then I can teach other providers how to be able to put these concepts to use and what's actually going to use.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So even probably eventually an ABA person could add your training onto what they're doing. So
Right.
it's inclusive. You're not saying one thing is better than another.
I am not. I am definitely 100% not saying, you know, one thing's better than another. I'm saying that if we can all work together as a team, this approach that I've created and that I really 100% believe in can be used in all facilities, in all aspects of life, whether it be in home or at a center or in the community. It is eclectic. So it goes every single place instead of just being.
That's good. And I think that I've met wonderful people that are aides and they're kind of stuck in a career low place. So if there could be more certifications added where you don't have to go back to school and get your ABA or even an RBT, but you can get a level of certification, I think the more that we can offer, the more rich our group of support and care workers would be here.
Well, and I agree, because at our center, we don't ever stop growing. So my staff come in making, you know, a certain amount, but there's always room for them to grow by sending them to different conferences, to having them learn different techniques, having them meet different people, having them work with different kinds of kids. It continues and continues and continues. So there's like an endless amount of growth that you can have in this type of business, because I definitely am, I work with littler kids. However, that's not my passion. And so I put one of my staff who is really, really good at that, working with our littles, and they are doing amazing. So they're going to grow up into that part. I love working with my teen and young adult program. That's where I excel. Those are my favorite people to work with. And so, you know, it's finding that niche and finding where you're good at. And that's what I do with my staff, is if I find where they're excelling at, they're going to do, number one, better at their job. They're going to do better for these kids, and they're going to be able to grow these kids and adults faster.
So if people want to stay in touch with you and watch how you develop, and if you eventually have a course, an online course or an in-person course, do they go to bridgethegap.org? Is that where they go?
So they go bridgethegapforautism.org.
Okay.
That
Bridge the Gap for Autism.
Yeah, and we're not now just servicing kiddos that are on the autism spectrum. We're servicing all special needs. But when I first started, it was just autism. We just kind of opened it up to everybody. And so they can find me on there, or they can go to Bridge the Gap for Autism on Facebook. I post lots of videos and lots of things that we're doing at the center, so that people can kind of see the growth. And
that's so exciting. And I'm so glad that I met you. I met you at a conference in Phoenix, and we met again. She's here in Hawaii to help with the Ke'ili Foundation that has some projects in the works that will be announced later.
Yes,
but I'm so excited that you're bringing your level of knowledge to us, because you know, we are always open to learning new things. So thank you very much for talking.
Well, thank you very much. I love Hawaii, so definitely
we'll get you back.
Yeah.
All right, so I will hit stop.